Hey, I'm Jason Creel. Today we're testing out two sedge products, comparing them side by side. I want to quit talking about which product works better, and I want to show them side by side so that I can know which one of these two commonly used sedge products is actually going to do the best job of suppressing the nutsedge. Doesn't mean it's not ever going to come back, or next year you won't have some. Hopefully that's the case, and hopefully, you know, there'll be less and less each year. But for the immediate studies here, I'm trying to figure out which one is going to do the best job of suppressing the nutsedge for the longest period of time. So I want to know which one is going to work the fastest and make it look the ugliest, you know, and I mean that in a good way. Turn the nutsedge yellow, brown, and really suppress its growth so that when the grass is cut, it doesn't come back looking ugly like it normally does. Here's the products we're going to use. Alright, very commonly used sedge products here, Prosedge and Certainty. These are very commonly used sedge products here, Prosedge versus Certainty. I'm going to mix both of them at the high rate. I've already got them mixed up, and we're going to test it out on the sedges. I'm using the trusty 2-gallon Smith contractor sprayer. Somebody asked me the other day about which sprayer I'm using, and you know, is this the most expensive, best one ever? No, but for the money, I find this one hard to beat. I'll put a link in the description if you want to pick up one of these for your home or your business. I use these all the time. I keep 3 of them in my truck on a regular basis. So I've got it mixed up already. Now let's go. We're going to test this on Nutsedge and Kyllinga, testing both these products. Now let me say this. Prosedge, you know, is not necessarily considered a great Kyllinga product in my expectation, so I'm not expecting it to perform that well on Kyllinga, and yet I've heard some people say that it does perform well on Kyllinga, or maybe certain types of Kyllinga. So I just want to test it out myself and see, do we get any discoloration, suppression of Kyllinga? Obviously I know Prosedge works on nutsedge, but I want to compare it side by side with Certainty, and I want to see how well Certainty works on Kyllinga too. You know, I use it all the time, but you know what? When you get busy, I don't always go back and actually check on it to see. I see that it's turned, you know, yellow. But if I record it, I have a record to show exactly how well it's worked in this given test. This particular video was shot during late July. Nutsedge is going crazy, middle of summer. Perfect time to test these products. All right, so let's show you the weeds here. You've got Kyllinga, which usually, you know, kind of looks a lot like nutsedge, but usually when it gets mature, it has a little spiky ball on top of it. It becomes a lot easier to recognize. So here's some Kyllinga, obviously the nutsedge here. Hopefully gonna test on some yellow and purple nutsedge. So I'm gonna have one patch that I spray with Certainty, the other patch I'm gonna use Prosedge. All right, so I've got both the products already mixed up in 2 separate tanks, and I'm mixing both products at the high rate. Fortunately, when you buy these products, they come with a little handy measuring scoop that you can use to easily mix the products. And so high rate, both products, side by side comparison. Let's get started. I've got the Certainty mix. I'm gonna spray it. This is a patch that's got both nutsedge and Kyllinga in. I'm gonna spray several patches, and then we'll try both products and check on the results. Yeah, I've got it mixed at the high rate. We're not trying to drown the weeds, just want to get it wet, you know, mist it over it real good. You can just follow it around. Let me get a little bit more over here. Here's some. I'm gonna go over here and hit that. Now let's try Prosedge on a different patch and see how it works. All right, I've tried to be very, equal in my applications here. Got the same type sprayer, mixed the high rate of both products, sprayed sedges and Kyllinga, tried to do it at the equal amount of wetness on the plant, so in the same surfactant. So with equal as we can do for this experiment, we'll keep an eye on it over the next few days, week or so, and see which product actually works the fastest. As this won't tell us which product is gonna maybe prevent more nutsedge from coming back next year. But for my immediate concerns, I'm wanting to know which one is going to give us the quickest results and, make the nutsedge as suppressed as possible to keep it from coming back. Back to check on the Nutsedge and Kyllinga. We're going to start with what was sprayed with Certainty. This is about 6 days after the application and the grass has been cut. And you can see that it has really, you can see here, it's about the same height as the grass, so it's really suppressed the growth. Now, did it shrivel up and turn brown and die? No, but it's greatly suppressed it. And let me compare that. This is actually the one that was sprayed with Certainty. And you compare that over here, to see what was not sprayed, and it's already shot up, several inches over the grass after just a few days after the mowing. So it's greatly suppressed the growth. My expectation is that we're into early August now, that it's gonna keep that down the rest of the year. And hopefully some of it will not come back next year. So this is the nutsedge. Let's see if I can find some Kyllinga. There's another shot of the nutsedge. So you can see some real discoloration in the plant now. And you come over here to where we sprayed Prosedge, and you can see the Kyllinga, and it's really, it's still growing. It's up over the grass. So, based on what I'm seeing, I don't think the Prosedge does a whole lot for the Kyllinga. But that doesn't mean it's not a good product. It's just not that great for Kyllinga. I can see the sedges in here. Maybe not as much discoloration as well, I take that back. Depends on, maybe I sprayed some a little heavier than other. You see they've cut to the level of the mowing. You see this particular one, how much discoloration that particular nutsedge plant has. More nutsedge here, and like I said, what I'm seeing here is it's really slowed down the growth. It's not popping back over the level of the grass just a few days later, like is the normal pattern with nutsedge. Let's see if I can find some Kyllinga that was sprayed with Certainty. All right, here's some Kyllinga, and it's hard to see a little bit, but this is actually Kyllinga right here in the Bermuda. And it's not as easy to recognize because it doesn't put the spiky ball on, but it's suppressed the growth, not a lot of discoloration, but it's not growing back over the grass, which is a good thing. So based on what I'm seeing, I think the Certainty definitely works a little better on the Kyllinga than Prosedge, or at least this particular type of Kyllinga. But I wouldn't say, on Kyllinga in general, products with dismiss in are going to work better. They'll actually turn it brown or really make it go away for a long time. So I'd be interested to see how long this is suppressed. But I think, what I'm seeing is very similar results with Prosedge versus Certainty on the sedges. But for Kyllinga, it looks like Certainty is going to have a slight advantage. Now we'd have to keep watching this over weeks to see which one suppresses the sedges and Kyllinga the longest, and even into next year to see did one of them prevent some of the sedges from coming back the following year. Well, for this video, we're not going to do that. We're going to have to rely on some of the PhD types to give us that information. But anyway, about what I expected. I wanted to see on video, side-by-side comparisons, and like I said, very similar. But as I thought, Prosedge is just not a great Kyllinga product, at least for the Kyllinga types that I'm experiencing. And Certainty's while it's not great, not as good as the dismiss products, which really will do a number on Kyllinga and turn it brown, make it go away for a long time. it does at least have some effect. So sometimes what I do, I'll mix, you know, Prosedge and something like Change Up, and that'll allow me to get the broadleafs and the sedges, but really not going to be a great combination for Kyllinga. And if I'm using Certainty, I might put, you know, Change Up in there, or Celsius or something like that. And, you know, Celsius and Certainty together is a little bit of an expensive mixture, even, you know, but not so much if you're just using a backpack sprayer, handheld sprayer. But that will actually probably do pretty good on the Kyllinga, because both those products are actually labeled for Kyllinga. Individually, I don't think either one are great, but together, you know, you get at least some suppression. Probably not as good as Dismiss is on its own. So good, but it allows you to get sedges, broadleafs, even have some effect on some grassy weeds with the Celsius. All right, we're going to check back in on the Nutsedge one more time about 10 days after application. The lawn's been mowed one time. You can see some untreated Nutsedge here, you know, significantly higher than the grass here, and that's what is normally what you see with Nutsedge. It pops back so fast. Let's compare that with the Nutsedge that we've treated with Certainty and also with Prosedge. Okay, you can see here what typically happens, and you know, here's an example of one where it got a little better coverage. It starts to turn brown, but ultimately it just really suppresses the growth. Now sometimes I've seen it where you spray it, it'll turn the plant yellow, but it'll still grow. It may take a second application, or it may take just a little bit more time for the product to work. Maybe after 2 cuttings that it'll stay down like this. But ultimately that's what we're, you know, gonna experience. This is with Certainty here, so you can see where the Nutsedge is not crumbling up and dying necessarily, but it does suppress it, keeps it from growing up over the actual grass that the lawn is composed of. Now we're in where I spray with Prosedge. You can see the same thing is happening. Maybe a little bit hard to see, but you can see the weed, it just virtually stops growing. Not that much discoloration. I would expect it to continue to turn yellow and brown, but you know, I can see the plant, you know, right here, same height as the Bermuda grass, is really suppressing the growth. So, you know, from a lawn care standpoint, that's a good thing, because at that point it virtually becomes unnoticeable. Hey, all right, let's check out the final results, at least the final results for this video. All right, so looking at what we sprayed with Certainty, and you can see the Kyllinga. I can still see it, you know, it's a little bit taller than the Bermuda grass, but it's suppressed the growth. And after talking with somebody else that does lawn care, weed control and fertilization, he said, you know, that's typically what happens with Certainty. And basically, it doesn't necessarily gonna turn the Kyllinga brown, but it does suppress it when it's mowed. It doesn't come shooting back over the grass. So, you know, is Certainty the greatest product for Kyllinga? I don't think so. I think, you know, the Dismiss products really give you a lot of results, but does it work on it and suppress it? If you're looking for kind of one all-around product for sedges and Kyllinga, then yeah, I think it does. So, but for Nutsedge and Kyllinga, then yeah, it does. It gives you that suppression and slows it down greatly. Then I can see here, spray with the Certainty, the Nutsedge, you know, again, it's not turning it super yellow. You're not getting a whole lot of discoloration, but it's suppressing it. Maybe if you did 2 applications, would it give you more discoloration? You know, possibly, but that's not necessarily my biggest concern. I'm looking for a product that's just going to keep it from growing, so, and to make it not shoot back up over the lawn once the grass is cut just a few days later. Here's the side we spray with Prosedge, and you can see, you know, the Kyllinga is still growing. I mean, I would say, just comparing the two, that Certainty seems to have a better results on Kyllinga than Prosedge. And then here's some Nutsedge that was sprayed with Prosedge. So you can see it has really suppressed the growth. And again, one of the positives about Prosedge and Certainty is they work both on purple and yellow Nutsedge. You know, there's other options if you have yellow Nutsedge, but in general, purple is considered more difficult to control. So you're looking at that, and it's, you know, the Bermuda grass, it's just down suppressed in the Bermuda grass, so I wouldn't see it unless I was specifically looking for it. So in wrapping up the video, what can we conclude? I think both products work good on nutsedge, okay? Doesn't mean the nutsedge is never gonna come back. We're not gonna continue the video out till next year to see if there's less nutsedge the following year, but both provide that suppression just after one application. Now if you do another application, you might get further suppression that would last, you know, longer, but you know, me spraying this midsummer, I would expect it to keep the nutsedge down basically for the rest of the growing season. I'm gonna give a slight edge to Certainty over Prosedge as far as the results that we got on the Kyllinga. The Prosedge might have suppressed it a little bit, and the Certainty, you know, again, it's not crunching it up and turning it crunchy brown. It's just suppressing the growth. Will you see further discoloration in a few weeks? I don't know. But you know, it's keeping it from popping back over the lawn. So if you're looking for that, you know, comparing these two, if you want one to work on nutsedge and Kyllinga, I'd probably go with Certainty. If you're looking for something just for nutsedges, then you know, either one is going to be comparable on those. They both are good products. Now these are not the only products out there for nutsedge. These are just the two I'm comparing today. Might do another video comparing a couple other options for you. There's other weed control videos where I'm going to be testing products. You can check some of those links out in the description. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll look forward to talking to you guys later. Thanks.